Welcome everyone. And today I have the pleasure of introducing you to somebody very important to me. I think it's going to be a great session. And then after the introduction, I'm going to hand this off to my great friend John Cleek Jr. And but Today's session is called "Building Leaders at Every Level," and the speaker or the person talking to us about that is Erica St. Charles. And I just wanted to, as far as a quick introduction, Erica has been with Arona Home Essentials for 12 years now. And, what's cool about this, and I look at this title, Building Leaders at Every Level, and Erica actually skipped a level one time. And that's what I wanted to talk about because she is so good. And so Erica started with us basically in the sales side of the business, has done everything at the store level up and then grew into what we call the assistant store manager. That store is a big store. It's a $2.5–3 million a year store. She basically ran it as the assistant manager, and but she also had the pleasure of working with a great leader, a great manager himself, who was on last year's panel on the big store panel. And his name is Nick Lay. And again, so between Nick and Erica, they were just great with what they did. And so in that Michigan market where Erica grew up, we needed a regional manager. And Nick, as a great store manager, he just makes so much money, right? Erica, as a store manager, he really didn't want to take that next step. And we went right from there. We just went right to his assistant general manager, Erica. And so Erica grew up at the store, did all the positions, skipped a general manager role or store manager role, and went right into a regional manager. And so, and that's I've been in this industry, I don't know, 30 something years. John, you've been in it a long time. I've never experienced that. Ran 300 stores at Rent-A-Center, 300 plus stores, worked with all these bigger companies. I've never seen anyone skip the general manager level and become a successful regional manager. Not to, and so Erica did that because of the training and what she puts into her own leadership and her own training on her own. So with that being said, I'll hand it. And the other thing, Erica, you've been our regional manager of the year twice already. The
Yep.
first two, I think your first and second year being a regional manager with us, she was our regional manager of the year. And that's out of 10 regional managers, so that's not a small task in itself. So she's awesome. She's always got a smile on her face. She's always willing to do whatever it takes, and she's been a great team member of us, great partner with me for sure, and I love her to death. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to John. I don't know if there's any other questions for me, but John, I'll just let you take it from here. But Erica's just a great. There's nobody better for this class right here. So John, thank you, and it's up to you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And just to let everybody know that a copy of today's presentation will be available on APRO's website under the educational resources. And without further ado, Erica, take it away.
Hello. That was an awesome introduction. Thank you, Mark. I'm blushing a little bit. And I'm going to try not to screw this up for you, okay? I'm just kidding. So today we're going to talk about building leadership at our stores. This is across all of our levels of positions in our locations. But I want you to think about this. Like if you lost your strongest leader tomorrow, do you have somebody in place right now that you could put to fill that role and take over those responsibilities? The hope is the answer is yes. However, there's a lot of times that when we lose especially our strong leaders, we don't have somebody that we have prepped for that role, which leads us to kind of scramble to find those right people. And then it puts a lot of stress and pressure on us, right? So we're going to talk today about how and why it's important to build up our teams and how to do it effectively. All right, so we're going to start with two different types of leadership. There's reactive leadership and there's intentional leadership. So reactive is waiting to recruit until after we lose somebody. So What we should be doing is, trying to do our interviews before we need to hire anybody, being a little more proactive. Where this situation, we're just kind of waiting until we're stressing out. We're constantly having to put out fires. When you lose somebody and you don't have somebody to put in that place, that's always where, you've got extra stuff on your own plate, right? I've got to do my job and I've got to do their job and I've got to find somebody to do that job. And carrying weak team members. So this happens a lot where we carry team members. I use this a lot in my life. Mike Tissett always talks about the right people on the bus. So sometimes we carry those weak team members longer than we should or keep them in the wrong seat on the bus for too long because we don't have somebody to fill their role. So the positive side of that is doing intentional leadership. So developing our talent early by like figuring out who those people are on our team that we want to start to develop to be able to put into a leadership role. Creating depth with our employees, meaning that we're making sure that there's more than one person who can do a job and promoting from within constantly. When a position is opened, if we've done our job right and we've found those employees that have the leadership potential and we've started going through the processes of getting them ready for that role, we've already groomed them, we already have that, and it takes a lot of the stress off of our plates. Bench strength mindset. So you don't want to build leaders when the position opens. You want to start doing that long before that, right? So this is going to not only set our teams up for success, but it also shows our teams that we believe in them and that we value them, and it gives them a goal towards, what to look forward to in their role. Why development matters. So retention. When employees are seeing that there's potential in a company, they tend to stay longer. I can tell you from personal experience, I've been with Arona, like we said, 12 years now. Prior to that, I was in the hotel industry. The job that I had there, I was in that role for about 8 years, and I just didn't have any room for advancement. I had talked about expressing interest in advancement, and there just wasn't anything for me unless my manager chose to leave, and he wasn't ready to do that. I loved my job, and that was the only reason why I left. I just didn't see a future for me there. So this will help us to retain our employees when they see that they have something to work towards. It also builds strong culture. It promotes internally strengthening our culture with our teams when they see that, we're investing in them. Less stress. Again, when we don't have somebody to fill those roles, it's always more stressful for us when we have to now fulfill that role ourselves while we're looking for somebody else. So succession planning does reduce the operational side of the stress. And higher engagement. So development improves our team's engagement. They're happier to be at work. They're more engaged with each other. They're more engaged with their role. When they see that they have an opportunity for advancement, they can see that they have a future with us. All right, so I have a couple questions today that I'm putting into the chat. Here's my first one. So what is one thing that your best leader did for your growth? While we are waiting for some answers, I'm going to tell you mine. So for me, this was a manager who didn't hold back any trade secrets. I've had previous leaders that, when you want to learn new stuff, they're a little afraid to teach you all of the secrets because they don't want you to be able to do their job for them, right? So this leader, he didn't hold back. If I asked for more, he gave me more. When I asked questions, he would answer them. He would answer them honestly. He trusted me to take on extra responsibility. I wasn't going to say who this was, but it's actually the person that I worked for before I moved into this regional manager role. He helped to build me up, and not only that, he bragged about me to our leadership. So, people knew who I was outside of our store, which made me feel valued. It made me feel like I meant something. I wasn't just an employee that came into work every day. So that is something that I will carry with me forever, and I really appreciate that. And I know he's on here, so thank you. So what do we got in the feed here? I think I can see this, can I? There we go. Showed faith in my ability and continued to encourage me to grow from Jeremy. That's great. I love that. Allowed me to struggle when it was safe from Heather. That is really important because we're all human. That We're going to fail a little bit, and sometimes you need to in order to learn those lessons. Pete says, directly challenge me to do better than just showing up. Do better, be better. I like that. Sean, as a GM, learning to coach the managers under me to become developers themselves, taking time to teach them on how to teach. That's important. Teaching me everything. Ooh, this is coming in fast. Everything I wanted to know and believed in me from Linda. That's awesome. Let's see. There's some really good ones in here. Store 5 taught me if you don't know where you are, you have no idea where you're going. Was also hard on me in the times he needed to be, and that way things were good. I could feel the praise. That's great. Ooh, Lauren, not intimidated by my strengths, rewarded me for that. That's huge. That's how I felt in my role with my leader. So allowed me to make mistakes and learn for myself. So we're kind of all on the same page here. That's really awesome. Taught me to set smart goals, held me accountable to numbers and where I needed to grow. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for participating in that. I was trying to kind of get a little engagement here with you. So thank you. Didn't make mistakes. Don't let my mistakes define me. Always allowed me to learn hands-on. That's great. Awesome. Thank you. So those are some great examples there. There we go. All right. So next up is finding the diamond in the rough. Potential does not always look polished. So next we're going to talk about some common mistakes that leaders make by only looking for the obvious choices and how to identify those diamonds in the rough. So what do we typically notice first? So number one is the loud one, and I can be the loud one sometimes. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but the loud one is, that confident employee, that one that, says, I did that, I was first place. They can sometimes be the obvious choice just because they're so confident and they are usually one of our top performers, right? And then the top performer, that's another one. Obvious choice. On paper, they fit the bill. They could be the top sales team. They could be the top collections person. They could be, store of the year. They won store of the year several times, so that's going to be our ideal candidate. And then the one who looks the part. So this one is like the person who always comes in dressed professionally. They use a lot of big words. Maybe they have a college degree. But they look like they're built to be a manager. So there's some ways that we can look a little bit closer. So where could great leaders be hiding? There is oftentimes where a great leader is not always that outspoken person, right? They're quiet but dependable. They do a good job. They don't shout out every accomplishment that they have. They don't always need that acknowledgement publicly. They're coachable. They're not perfect. But when we do coach them, they take that feedback and they use that to help them be better. Problem solvers. So these teammates, they try to problem solve before they have to go to the ladder. They're not, instantaneously running to a manager to solve a problem. They're trying to think through it and trying to come up with a solution on their own. And then team influencers. This is one of my favorites. They don't bring down the team with negativity. They come in with a positive attitude. They try to positively affect the team's behaviors and performances. And they're just always a good employee to be around. That one that when they come into the room, it doesn't drag down the energy. It kind of pumps you up to be at work that day. And then there's the silent assassin. So this one is the employee that they don't like to take the spotlight when they're doing a good job. They have a task, they get it done. They have, a problem in front of them and they just find a way to solve it. They're eager to do that. And then they lead through actions. So they might not be the ones that stand on the rooftop and say, hey, I sold that customer that bed that gave us that really good Google review. They're not doing that. They're just excited that the customer is happy. So they take acknowledgement in their own role and they kind of run with it without needing the constant direction. This is an employee that I love to have. I have a couple of them on my team right now. They might not be that outspoken person, but they're the ones I know I can run to if I ever need somebody to do anything. Um, All right, so how to look for signs for leadership potential. This is kind of a little bit of a checklist. One thing that I always say, skills can be taught, attitude and drive are harder to teach, right? I always look at that when I'm doing interviews with employees as well. So I can teach you how to sell to somebody. I can teach you how to take a payment. I can teach you how to properly load a delivery truck. But I can't teach you to come into work with a positive attitude. I can't teach you to want to work with my customers and to be happy to work with my customers. That's all something that's got to come built in. So some things that we look for in leadership potential, they take ownership of their role. They don't constantly need direction. They help others naturally. So when they see somebody needs help, maybe it's a salesperson and they see that the delivery person is running a little bit behind that day on their route. So they jump in and start helping to load the truck to get them moving along the day so they don't run behind. They're solution focused, always trying to find a solution to a problem. They accept coaching. That's another one. We've talked about this already, but they take the coaching, they take the feedback, and they turn that into action. They don't take it as a negative conversation. They take it as something that they can do to improve themselves. Accountability. You can ask anybody on my team. I talk about this one all the time. Accountability for me is huge. We're all human. We all make mistakes, but this person might take accountability for their own actions. Hey, I screwed that up. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to do it again. They learn from their mistakes and we move on. Want to learn. So they want to they want to ask about getting new tasks. They are accepting new tasks as they're given to them. They want to learn how to do new things. And then the team first mindset. So not always thinking about yourself, thinking about how your actions affect the rest of the team or how you can help the team be a little bit better. Those are my biggest things that I look for in leadership potential with being able to move somebody into a new role. Developing future leaders. I love this picture because it's a bunch of kids in suits. If no one ever lets them lead, will they never become leaders? So let's go into this a little bit more. There's a simple formula that I developed here. So there's identifying potential, use the tools that we just discussed to try to find who those right employees are that we want to be able to move through our leadership program, right? Give opportunities. So some ways that I would do this is by asking them like, hey, I would like you to start leading our morning huddles in the morning. Or you have a new employee that you bring in and you ask them if they will train the new staff. I usually kind of bring it in with, hey, you're somebody on our team who knows a lot about what you're doing. I think you're going to be the best one to be able to teach them, what we do and how to be a part of our team. And then maybe assigning an extra task to see if they can handle that extra thing. So I know for our stores, we have like service logs, right? We have items that need to be taken care of for our customers. Maybe giving that onto a new person to see if they can handle, getting the items fixed, communicating with the customers, communicating with our service providers. Constant coaching. So giving regular feedback. This is both constructive feedback and positive feedback, right? So letting them know when they're doing a good job. Hey, I had you take over the service log for me and you are doing an awesome job. I really appreciate it. You're doing great. Do you have any questions for me? Or if it's constructive, like, hey, with your service log that I had you start on, just for an example, there's some things on here that we don't really have lining up that I just want to kind of go through it with you so we can make sure that we're on the same page. So just having that constant communication with them on what we expect and giving them the feedback that suits it. And then stretching gradually. We don't want to overwhelm them. This is something that I've seen a lot in the past where we kind of, especially when we are throwing somebody into a new role just because we have it open. We don't want to set them up for failure. We want to set them up for success. So instead of giving them a ton of new activities, we're starting from the beginning and giving them a little bit of new activities. And then after they are consistent with that, they're comfortable with that, then maybe introducing something else. The goal here is to create a well-rounded individual, somebody who is able to take on different roles when we need it. So All right, so to test their strengths. First, we want to watch them, be a silent observer of their actions, just kind of give them the task, kind of watch and see how they're doing, watch how they interact with their coworkers, watch how they work with our customers when the customers come in. Are they greeting them? Are they shy? Are they confident? How are the customers perceiving them when they come in? And then assigning them tasks, which we just talked about. And at first, when I assign a new task, I want to follow up pretty regularly with them just to make sure that we're on the same page. Hey, do you have any questions on this service log that I've got you doing? Is there anything that you think might make this process a little bit easier? Opening that line of communication with them. And then once they get comfortable with it, I would still say to watch it, but watch it from afar. One of our leaders at our company, Donnie Youngblood, he uses this phrase all the time, trust but verify. This is a great example of that, and I say it all the time. Trust that they've got the task under control, but still kind of manage it from afar just to make sure that it doesn't fall off the track, because it takes a little bit of time to build it into their routine. And then coach, give that positive feedback or constructive criticism, see how they handle it, how they react to it, and then go from there. And if they're ready, start them on another new task. Start developing from day one. So this is something that I'm trying to get better at myself, and this is a great example for anybody in any leadership position. But remembering that we want to start building that leadership pipeline from the very first day the employees start with us. So with me being a regional manager, I'm not in the stores, every single store, every single day, right? So when we have a new employee, just kind of reaching out maybe once a week for a few weeks as they start in to keep that line of communication open with them. How are you doing? How are things working out with your coworkers? Is there any questions that you have about your role or about the store? Is there anything that I can do to kind of help support you in your role or in your growth? And just kind of keeping that line of communication open. There's a lot of times that we lose our great employees when they first start just because they're not comfortable with us. I try to keep an open line with my staff just to kind of make sure we're all on the same team. And I want them, if they have a problem or a question or concern, I want them to be comfortable enough to come to me so I can help to address it. But if I don't take that first step when they first start with us and build that relationship from them, I won't have that opportunity. So this is definitely something that we can all be a little bit better at as leaders, just to kind of start that process from the beginning. And then you get to know them and you get to see what their potential is to be able to know what kind of position we can move them into later on. Buy into the mission, not the incentive. If you have to buy loyalty, you'll have to keep buying it. So I'm going to go along with the pictures I've got here. It's our gift card promos that we do, offering pizza party lunches or giving out extra bonus incentives. Don't get me wrong, I love these. My team loves them. They're fantastic. It's a great motivator. But are you doing it so often that they expect that reward system every single day or every single time that we've got an event going on? So we want to keep that in mind, and we want to build that culture with our team while still being able to use these incentives. So we want to build the buy-in. Why? Why are we asking them to do certain tasks? So whenever I'm coaching somebody on something, we're going to use an example for, say, my collections department. We are very big in my region on our ATP culture, our appointment culture. So if I have an employee that maybe is struggling a little bit on that aspect, I don't just say, hey, you got to make sure you get those appointments in for those customers you took payments for. I'm not just dropping it at that. I'm explaining the why. So, hey, we need to make sure that we're talking to the customer to find out when that next payment is, because we want them to know what the expectation is, and we want to make sure we keep that open line of communication with them. So when we call them on the day that we have planned them to pay us, we don't want them to be upset or frustrated that we're calling. They already understood that because we had that conversation. So it just kind of helps them to understand the purpose of what we're doing. Recognition, reward the behaviors, not just the numbers. So one example of this, I recently had a somewhat newer sales employee, and I was just kind of watching the mannerisms and stuff in the store. And we had a brand new customer walk through the door. He immediately walked up to the customer, shook their hand, introduced himself, asked them if they'd ever been in our store, started walking around the store. He was only with us for like 2 or 3 weeks. That is how we should train our people, 100%. But he did it with such confidence as a new employee that I was super impressed with that. So I made sure to pull him aside afterwards and just have that conversation to say, hey, I noticed what you did. That was really awesome. That is exactly how we should do it every single time. I loved it. I just wanted to say thank you. And then future, show them where they can go. So we're asking those questions. Hey, where do you see yourself in 2 years from now? What do you want for your future? What are you looking forward to? And then kind of leading them into why we're asking that question. Like, well, this is why I wanted to know because I see that there's some potential that you have to be able to move into another role. And I wanted to see if that's something that you're interested in, that we can kind of talk about, trying some new tasks out to see if that's something that would work for you. So it shows them that they have a future with us as well. Another question for the panel. If I asked your team today why they come to work every single day, would they talk about a paycheck or would they talk about a purpose? So this is kind of what we're talking about a little bit right here with creating the buy-in, right? We want to build the culture with our teams that they come to work because they want to be here. I always tell everybody in my life, at home and at work, this is the only life I get to live. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. So if I'm coming to work every day, I want to believe in what I'm doing. I want to like what I'm doing. This is hopefully what I'm going to do for the rest of my life until I retire on a beach somewhere, drinking Mai Tais. So, what do you think your team would say if you were to ask them this question? Let's see what we've got in here. I don't have any questions to this one. Oop, now they're coming in. Sean, thank you. Love the regular feedback. The 1 minute manager mindset is so important, especially with the younger generation. Absolutely. Our teams, we have to remember that the time of 2026 is much different than even 10 years ago, right? That feedback and that constant communication is important for sure. My team is here for the outcome. The income will follow. That's true. I love that. Purpose with my account managers and one of my CSRs, they enjoy seeing the smiles on customers' faces. That is great. That is one of the things that makes me love what I do. I've seen my customers' families grow. I've watched a teenager when I first started here. He was in here shopping with his mom to find a couch for their basement, and now he's a customer himself, which is fantastic. There is a mix of both. I would say paycheck and 3 other ones are the purpose. Okay. Hard truth is probably paycheck for too many, which opens the why is so much important. Yeah. So, and the reason for this question again is just to kind of, put that back. Like, what can we do to make sure our teams understand that they're valued? What can we do to build that culture with their teams where they want to come to work today, not just because they're getting paid to be here, because they actually enjoy what they're doing, right? Probably a 60-40 split, but majority is paycheck. Paycheck, probably, but I love my job. That's good though. Listen, I come to work for a paycheck and because I love my job. You can, I think, have both. I'm here for the purpose and the relationships, but asking employees, it is close to a 50-50 split. Perfect. Okay, so this is kind of what I expected to see a little bit. I would, again, just make sure that this is some things that you can take back into your team, how you can help build that culture to make sure that everybody feels included and valued and loves what they do. And if you don't have those people that love what they do, find out why. See if there's something we can do to change that culture, or if maybe it's just going back to Mike Tissett, not the right people on the bus, right? But I do think that some of these people, some of you guys are saying that paycheck and because you love your job. I would agree. I still like my paychecks. As long as we have both of them there, I think that's great. Loving the customers is awesome. I think it's a good question to pose to employees to hear what they have to say. Absolutely. That is something that we can learn from, I think, asking that question and figuring that out. Absolutely. All right. So Leadership pipeline culture. Just to kind of recap what we already talked about, what it is not for management only. We want to remember that we are trying to build leaders at every level, right? We're not always just looking for somebody to fill that general manager role. Sometimes it's about paying attention to our delivery guys to see if they're ready to move up into another role, whether that's moving into sales or moving into retentions, collections. Um, we want to make sure that we're paying attention to all of those things. It's not a last minute scramble. That is again where we're constantly having to put out fires because we waited until the last minute to start recruiting. We want to start doing that earlier. And then based only on tenure. I see this a lot where people just expect that when there's a new role that they get to go into it because they've been at the store the longest. That's not always true. And I try to make sure that my team understands that. This is about, are you showing up every day? Are you coming in with that positive attitude? So things that we do want to make sure we're looking for and what we're doing to build our pipeline ongoing. We want to make sure that we're constantly looking for those leaders in our teams that we can work with. And we also want to make sure that we're recruiting before we need it. So making sure that we're doing those interviews even if we don't need the person yet. It is visible. Our employees see that we are working towards building them into a leadership role. They see that we're trying to give them that potential to move into another position if that's what they want. And it's everybody's opportunity. Again, this is not just about general managers. This is about building our entire team and making sure that everybody is seen, everybody is part of our culture, and everybody, sees that they have potential with us. Your legacy as a leader is not what you accomplished alone, it is who you developed along the way. So, this is a quote from John C. Maxwell. I just wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. He is the author of a book. It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. So, if you are a book person, this is a good one. I have not personally read it myself, but I have ordered it and it is on its way to my house. I did, when I was doing a little bit of research on this, I came across this book and I kind of read through the summary of it, and it looks fantastic. It's got great reviews. He also has updated this book a couple times to make sure that his stories and his references apply to today's world problems and today's world of business, not just, some of these books that you read, they are a little outdated. This one is not. So that's kind of cool. I'm excited to read it. So if you need a new book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I would definitely recommend it, and I'm going to be reading it here myself next week. So before you leave today, some things I want you to take back. Before you leave, think about that one person on your team that has a leadership potential that you haven't approached yet. Think of one extra responsibility that you can give to them to try to test the waters with them. And then what is one coaching conversation that you need to have? And this can be a constructive criticism type thing, or it can be a positive feedback. Is it a conversation that you have this employee who's fantastic on your team and that you've just never approached and told them, hey, you're doing a great job and I really appreciate you. Let's see what we can do to try to move you through the motions to keep you on our team and to build you up into a leadership position. So think about those three things before you go. Try to take something away from today. I was a little nervous coming into this, so hopefully everything went well. Thank you so much for being here today. If you have any questions, you can put those in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. If you'd like to reach out to me separately, this is my contact information. Gave you my email and my cell phone number. I'm always happy to help and be a part of the team. So I came a little early ahead of time. I knew that was going to happen.
Thank you, Erica. That was an outstanding presentation. Looks like you do have a couple of questions in the chat if you want to take a look at that. I know Lauren has one for you.
All right, let's see here. What was that book, Pete, so I can write it down? The book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and it's by John C. Maxwell. In your development formula, when you give opportunities, does that ever cause jealousy or conflicts with other teammates? I haven't noticed it myself yet. But I am pretty good with my team as far as, if I have somebody that came to me and says, hey, you helped this person, you're giving them some extra stuff, like I want to learn more stuff. If somebody ever comes to me and says, I want to learn more, I will never say no. I am a sponge. I never like to not know something, and I don't know many things in life. But when a situation comes up and I want to know how to do it, I'm going to figure it out. So if I ever have somebody that comes to me, I don't think it causes a conflict because I'm excited that somebody's showing that they are eager to learn something new and I will help them to find out what that is. Uh, Thank you. Thank you. So many nice things.
Yeah.
Be a great opportunity to talk to that person if they are jealous or they think they were left out. It gives you a good opportunity to talk to them also to let them know, number one, what they need to do to get that same thing, or what they didn't do. So the reason that you didn't talk to them about it,
Yeah,
and
could
so
be a good
all those are
conversation
great
for
opportunities for
constructive. Yeah.
coaching leadership.
Hey, Erica, Jim Webb has a question. Do you implement these strategies directly to the store staff, or do you direct them through your managers?
So it's a little bit of both. It really depends on who the employee is and what the task is. Usually, if I'm going to the employee themselves, the general manager is still involved because they're the ones that are going to be there all the time working with that associate, right? So if I'm the one that's assigning it directly to the team member, I usually have the general manager either involved in that exact conversation or I've already discussed with the general manager that this was my idea, this is what I want to do, and get their sign off first.
Yeah.
Great
Any
job,
other
Rachel. Thank you.
questions? A lot of great questions. And I think one thing you pointed out that's really important is that, leadership and building leaders is at every position, not just for the manager. So, some people honestly don't want to be a general manager, but let's make them the best sales manager or best collection manager or best delivery person. I mean, we always need a great delivery person. So I
Yeah,
think that's an
absolutely.
awesome thing that you said. Looks like Lauren has another question for you.
When you are filling your bus and hiring, what are some green flags that might show a person is a good potential leader? So I mean, really, when it's more about paying attention for me, paying attention to them as they work with me. So, for instance, like watching that associate talk to the customer when they first walked in and seeing how they're interacting with our customers and how our customers are perceiving them, or paying attention to when they're in store, if they're jumping in to help a teammate with something because they need the assistance instead of just saying, that's not my job, that's not my problem. So I'm just trying to pay attention to those things that show that they are here to be a part of our team. They're not just here for themselves, and that, they show that they have the potential to take on the extra responsibilities. Because also sometimes we have great employees that just can't manage a lot of tasks at once, right? That doesn't mean they're a bad employee. It just means that maybe they're not the right person for a leadership role. So just trying to pay attention and watch my teams as they're coming in. Really filling the bus, doing the proper interviews, asking the right questions, and making sure that that conversation that I'm having with them is always good. My goal is to always, when I hire in, I want to hire in at entry level and I want to build my leaders with the team that I have right now. That's always my goal. Because those people have showed me what they can do. They've showed me their potential and they've showed me that, I want them leading the bus. I want them driving it.
All right. Mark, do you got anything else you want to add, or does anybody else?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, Erica. It's always a pleasure seeing your face.
Thank you.
All right. Well, awesome job, Erica. We really appreciate your time and effort you put into this presentation. Just to tell everybody about APRO's upcoming webinars, we've got on September the 8th, Developing People on Purpose with Pete Shao. And then we've got APRO's RTO World. There's going to be Charles Smitherman, September the 17th. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody in West Palm Beach. And there's a QR code with any feedback on this session. So you had an awesome presenter and, of course, incredible facilitators, so make sure you put that on there. No, just kidding. All right, everybody, have a great day, and thanks again, Erica, for your awesome presentation.
Thank you.